How you doing, guys? Welcome to the Fit for 90 podcast. I am your host, Cayman Bandel, footballer and strength and conditioning coach. Today, I want to talk about something which might sting a little bit. Now, what I'm going to speak about today isn't to have a dig at you or what you're doing. It's to help you to try and improve. So I just want to put that out there before I go into this. Today is all about why you're not improving, even though you're still trying really, really fucking hard. A lot of players we speak to, and I speak to players all the time, both within the program and outside of the program on a weekly basis, probably hundreds of players, to be honest with you. A lot of players are trying very hard. They're training, they are showing up, they genuinely care about how they perform, but they're not improving. And that's probably one of the most frustrating places to be as a footballer, quite honestly, when you're doing a load of work, you're doing a lot of training, you're doing everything you feel you should be, but you're not making any progress. This is something I've done myself in the past. So today I want to break down why that happens, what's really going on when your effort doesn't actually match your progress. The first thing to understand is that your effort that you put into something, that alone doesn't guarantee your improvement. Because you can work hard, but you could be working hard in the wrong direction for years. And it's a mistake I made in the past. Especially when I was younger, I was doing a lot of training, not the right type of training for football, but I was training a lot. And I looked fit. I could run for a long distance without really getting fatigued. But when it came to stepping across that white line on a football pitch, my efforts didn't translate. So effort alone doesn't guarantee improvement. Most non-league lads right now, I don't think they're lazy. I don't think they have bad intentions. I think they've got really good intentions. They know what they need to be doing. They don't know what they need to be doing. They know they need to be training a certain way to improve football performance, but they lack the structure or the knowledge on how to do that. We see a lot of the time non-league players will just add random runs throughout the week, especially if they have like a bad game on Saturday. They'll wake up on the Sunday or the Monday and be like, right, I need to get fit. When in fact, that's probably not the reason why you had such a bad performance. And listen, we all have a bad game here and there, but they just start adding random running for the sake of adding random running. They then start doing random gym sessions. They start doing plyometrics. They start jumping about, thinking they need to get more explosive. They've not earned the right to do that. And then suddenly they start getting niggles or their legs feel heavy because plyometrics are very, very hard if you don't, they're very hard to recover from if you don't structure them the right way. A lot of the non-league lads, they'll train hard when they feel guilty. So if they've had a heavy night, heavy weekend drinking, heavy couple of nights of maybe overeating, they use the gym as a tool to try and offset that, when really that shouldn't be the case. And they get stuck in this stop-start cycle of starting, going for a few weeks, and then having to restart again because something hasn't quite worked or they've fallen off the wagon. All of this is not down to a lack of effort. It's a lack of structure and it's a lack of direction. If you're just working hard without structure, you're just creating fatigue, like unnecessary fatigue. So number one is that to recognize that effort is not the same as having a clear direction. And effort alone does not guarantee improvement. Number two that I want you guys to take from today is a lot of you are training tired. One of the biggest reasons we see players not improving during the season is that they'll constantly be training on tired legs. You play a game, you're tired, you don't recover properly, your nutrition, your sleep doesn't support that. You then go back into training too soon, whether that's in the gym, whether that's going for a run, whether that's team training. Again, you get tired. You then might stack more sessions on top of that with running or gym. Again, you're more tired. And you just repeat this throughout the season. There's no rhythm to the week. And if your body doesn't get that balance of stimulus and recovery, it's never going to adapt. You do not improve when you're exhausted. You improve when you are recovered. The way I look at rest and recovery now is I look at them as growth days. For example, today's a Friday. I'm recording this on a Friday. I've got a game tomorrow, a massive game tomorrow. I'm not doing too much today. I've trained hard all week. In fact, I've been training like I've been locked in for the last, I'd say, 6 weeks. So kind of post-Christmas. Obviously, I enjoyed my Christmas. We had a lot of fixtures over Christmas, but after that Christmas period, I had a couple of days where I just switched off because I didn't really get to enjoy Christmas properly because we had fixtures. We had like three games on Christmas week, which is crazy. So I had a little switch off period, and then the last 6 weeks I've really locked in. So now I'm at a position where I know I've done the work. Today's a recovery day. I'm going to still do some mobility. After recording this podcast, I'll do a little mobility session. I might do a little bit of walking on the treadmill I've got at home and just do some incline walking, get some steps in. That's it. I'll eat well and I'll sleep well tonight. Because today is a growth day. Today is when I actually get stronger and fitter and faster from the training that I've been doing. And that's the way you should be looking at your rest and recovery days. You don't get fitter when you're in the gym. You don't get fitter when you're on the pitch. That happens when you step away from that environment and then you allow yourself to recover properly. So, number 2 is training when you're tired. If you're tired, if you're constantly tired, it's a sign, it's a red flag. Someone's waving a red flag to say, listen, you need to manage your load better. You need to do things a little bit smarter. Number 3 is you're chasing tiredness and fatigue instead of quality. Now, a lot of players they'll judge sessions based on how battered they feel afterwards, which I actually used to do this myself when I was younger. So I hold my hands up to this one. But a lot of lads think if they're not blowing at the end of a session, it's not good enough. This isn't entirely true. Football is not about who can suffer the most in training. It's about who can produce quality actions repeatedly over the course of 90 minutes. And I always come back to this, and I say it to my players all the time, that quality beats chaos. If you're just randomly trying to just hammer your legs to the point where you literally feel like you're going to puke up, what's the point of that? If you're constantly doing that, there's a time and place for that, by the way. Don't get me wrong, like pre-season, when we need to build those fitness levels, there's a point when we have to push you to your absolute limits. And maybe even beyond those limits, to be honest with you, not just physically, but mentally as well, because it tests you during those summer months when you know you've got the season coming up. You have to push yourself beyond that point where it's like, I don't know if I can actually complete this session. You don't do that all year round. There's little windows throughout the year. More often than not, pre-season is a good time to do it, where you push yourself to that point where it's like, it's hard training. But you can't do it all year round. As you approach, especially during the seasonal phases, as you approach the season and go into in-season training, you have to be really smart and you have to have quality behind what you're doing. You can't just keep beating yourself up because, number one, you'll burn out, make really slow progress. A lot of lads just fall out of love with the game because they're so tired, they're so fatigued, they think they're doing the right work, they're showing up to football, they're not performing because they're so fatigued and they don't even realise it's because of that. And suddenly, football becomes a chore. You can offset this very, very easily. So stop chasing tiredness, focus on quality. Number 4 is that you're trying to fix everything at once. This is probably the biggest mistake, I would say, of the list I've got in front of me. I think this should be probably top of the list. These aren't in order, by the way. These are just some ideas that I brainstormed earlier this week. So a mistake I see all the time is players, they're trying to do everything at once. They're trying to get leaner. They're trying to get stronger. They're trying to get faster. They're trying to get fitter. They're trying to do more conditioning. And they're trying to play 2 games a week, plus team training, plus goal sessions all at once. That is too much. It's complete overload. Yes, you might have ambitions to want to be fit and be able to play multiple games a week. Yeah, great. But you can't do everything at once. Progress needs to be prioritized. So what do you want to get better at over the next, 6 to 8 weeks? What's the number one focus? You want to get stronger. You want to get faster. You want to lose a little bit of body fat. You need to get fitter. Okay, right. So we can reverse engineer this goal based on the one thing that you want. Does this mean that you don't train other qualities? For example, if I want to get stronger, does that mean I'm not going to be focusing on speed? Well, no, I'll put speed on maintenance mode. So I'll still train that quality, but I just train it less. Strength becomes my main priority. And then I dedicate more of my time to that over the next 6 to 8 weeks. You can't train everything at once. And something I'll speak about, I actually spoke a lot about this earlier in the week. Within the program, I recorded a webinar, which I've sent out to my players, and they watched this back because I put it on record. And a lot of it was around training 1 to 2 qualities at any given time throughout the year to allow the body to make those adaptations. And we work, I won't go into depth on this now, we work what we call a force velocity curve. So we start at the top of that curve and we start to work our way through. We prioritize one main quality. So it could be maximal strength, it could be power, it could be peak in the power, it could be speed, it could be plyometrics, it could be reactive strength. There's so many different qualities along this curve, which I'm speaking about. But you can't train all of them at once. There's some coaches that argue that you can, but the progress within the qualities that you're training is much slower. So what we tend to do is we tend to train one main quality and put the rest on maintenance mode. Once you develop that quality, we then can put that on maintenance mode because you've built those qualities. We then move to the next quality. It might be power, it might be speed. But you have to prioritize what you want to progress. Otherwise, you're just training, what's the saying? Jack of all trades, master of none. That's essentially what you become. Number 5 is that progress lags behind your effort. This one is massive. So this is I talk about the lag effect. Adaptation does not show up instantly. Unfortunately, it takes about 8 to 12 weeks of like consistent structure. If you're changing things every 2-3 weeks, you're never going to see things pay off. And if you're someone who is very impatient with your training, like I'm going to say it straight up now, you are never going to make the progress that you want because you're constantly chopping and changing. The best programs in the world will have you run a block for 8, 10, 12 weeks of just consistent, very similar exercises, making progressions on whatever the quality is that you're training, but they will not chop and change whole exercise and whole movements every kind of 2-3 weeks. You don't allow your body a chance to adapt to the stimulus. You need to play the long game. We live in a world right now where we live in a world of instant gratification. I did this yesterday. I clicked a button on my phone and I had my laptop delivered this morning. Like, that is pretty much instant gratification within 24, it's not even been 24 hours. And I've got a laptop sitting downstairs. We get into habits of clicking things, having it now, saying I want this and getting it there and then. When it comes to training, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to performance, it doesn't work. There is no way you can cheat this. There's no way around it. You have to do the work. And the work you do now only shows in 6, 8, 12 weeks' time. And you have to trust that process. I'm doing training today that's going to help me in 4 weeks' time, in 6 weeks' time. And this is what we speak to a lot about with our players. We see guys right now in the program who are making some crazy gains with speed, with strength, with fitness. That's not come from the session they did this week. That's come from what they were doing pre-Christmas, post-Christmas, start of Jan. It's February the 13th of the time of recording this. So that the work they did kind of 6 weeks ago is starting to compound now. So if you're stuck, it's likely that you're impatient. That is my top 5 reasons why you're not improving. We've got effort not being the same as direction, and knowing that, recognize that effort alone does not guarantee improvement. We've got number 2, which was training tired and constantly training on tired legs. You need to find that balance through the week between stimulus and recovery. Otherwise, you don't allow yourself to adapt. We spoke about recovery and growth days. Looking at rest days as growth days is a massive mindset shift that I made to allow me to take my recovery a little bit more seriously. Number 3 was chasing tiredness instead of quality. Quality beats chaos. If you're constantly beating your legs up, it's a recipe for disaster. So you need to be a bit smarter with what you're doing. Number 4 is that you're trying to fix everything at once. Prioritize one goal. I can guarantee it. Just prioritize one goal over the next 6 weeks. I just want to focus on getting stronger, or I just want to focus on getting faster. Focus on that one goal. Put the other ones on maintenance mode. Don't not train them, because otherwise you detrain those qualities. Still train them, but put them on much like on a lower pedestal. Put the main one you want to focus on as the forefront of your mind and say, listen, that's what I'm gonna push for. Have real clear intent every time you go into the gym, every time you're going down to your pitch, wherever it is. You've got the focus of, I am doing it to get stronger or to get faster or to get fitter, whatever that goal might be. And number 5 is the lag effect. Progress lags behind effort, usually 6, 8 to 12 weeks. Unfortunately, I wish it was sooner, but it's not. And if you're stuck right now, you're probably a player who's just been too impatient. So if you feel like you're trying hard but not improving, you have to ask yourself, number 1, is my week structured properly? Am I recovering well? Am I training with purpose? Or am I just going through the motions, just trying to do more and more and more? A lot of players will fail, not because they don't have good intentions, it's just because their plan's not good enough and what they're doing on a weekly basis isn't good enough. If you want help building a week that actually makes sense around your football, around your work life, around your social commitments, that's exactly what we do inside Fit for 90. We don't try and do more, we do things better. If you want more details, just drop a comment anywhere around this video with the word 90 and I'll send you them over. Have a good one.